Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I thought it would be fun to go over specifically the USA made portion of my folding knife collection, which consists of 62 pocket knives. You can see them all here. We are zoomed out so you can get a full scope of exactly what you're in for today. I'll give you guys some timestamps if you want to skip the intro here, but there is some important context I'm going to go over, so if you want to hear that, then stick around. Otherwise, just skip to the portion of the video that you want to start at. If you are familiar with my channel, you know I have a much larger collection when we're not just focusing on USA-made knives. So if you want to see the whole collection, which consists of over 200 knives, you can view that video right here. Before we get started, you might be looking at this and thinking, this is cool, but where are the knives from this brand or this brand? Why doesn't he own this? There's a number of different reasons. Number one, it could be that I've experienced the brand and just decided they're not really for me. A good example of this would be like buck knives. I'm not really into them. It's fine if you are, they're just not really my thing. Another reason might be that I'm definitely interested, I just haven't had the right opportunity to grab one yet. Examples would be like Koenig or Oz Machine Company or Holt, right? Another example would be like I had it before and I traded or sold it for whatever reason. Maybe I want it back, maybe I don't. Just wanted to give you guys a couple of examples there. It's important to note that I'm zoomed way out, but once I start the video where I go over each and every knife, I'm going to be zoomed up more like this. So just wanted to kind of make that clear to everybody. You won't be able to see everything, but I will go over each and every knife. Some of these knives are available and some of them are not. I will try to link the ones that are available down in the description, but some of these are extremely rare or just not obtainable. So keep that in mind. Also, some of these tend to be very expensive. I'm not going to be going over individual prices, but just know these knives range anywhere from 50 to 60 bucks all the way up to multiple thousands of dollars. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's kick things off here with my very first pocket knife ever. This was actually my grandpa's, then it was my dad's, and then eventually it was mine. This is a Camillus 70 made in New York. Now, it has not always looked this good. In fact, this was restored by my friend Scott in combination with a number of other people from this awesome community. I did lose the original front scale, which is why the back looks different. But yeah, this absolute treasure has been completely restored, and obviously I'll never get rid of that one. Very cool. I own just a couple of Benchmades. So this is a Benchmade custom shop mini Crooked River in blue and black, CPM 20 CV. Very fun. We, of course, also have the Benchmade Bug Out. Now, the original scales on this guy are, I'm not sure where they are, but these are Flytanium titanium scales. But the knife itself, the base knife, is, of course, a Benchmade, so it's made in the United States. We, of course, have the Ritter RSK MK1 G2, which is actually made by Hogue. These scales are also custom. Some of these knives have been modified, some haven't. But these are made by Original Goat, and Original Goat makes scales in the United States. So there are definitely links for Original Goat down in the description as well. Another Hogue that has Original Goat scales. These are polycarbonate scales, but this is the Hogue Deca 2 with the compound Wharncliffe blade. Moving on, trying to separate these out by brand, we have the Tactile Knife Co. Rockwall, which is in Magna-Cut. This is a nice titanium liner lock. Enjoy that one. We have the newer Tactile Knife Co. Maverick, utilizing like a crossbar lock with Omega springs. Really nice contoured titanium and also Magna-Cut. They do a great job with the heat treat there. We have a Spartan Harsey folder. This was a gift from a viewer. Beautiful knife, definitely one that gets used a lot. We have that almost a gray, like a coating on there. I honestly can't remember if it's DLC or PVD. It does feel like a chalky DLC, but just a nice, robust USA-made knife there. We have the Strider, and it's actually a Medford-built 3/4 AR. This was a DLT Trading exclusive in S90V. This is also one that gets used quite a bit. Really enjoy that one. Another DLT Trading exclusive, and this is a Medford 187. Given that the Scales and the blade are 187 thousandths throughout. This one's also S90V. Big fan of, this is a look that I like a lot. You'll see this consistently throughout the collection. I like an all silver or all metal look. Like some color here and there, but this is definitely a big preference here. Definitely an enjoyable one. Very, very robust, that one. Another Medford, we have a Marauder H frame with the sculpted titanium scales. This is probably my favorite of the Marauders. This is also a DLT exclusive in S90V for sure. This one always confuses people. This is a Demco 8020, and a lot of people say, I thought the Demcos were made in Taiwan. The original 8020, which is much larger and much thicker, is actually made in the United States. The 8020.5 is what most people are thinking of. That actually came after. So this is one of the original full titanium Demco 8020s. Also, definitely a treasure of the collection. We have the Guardian Tactical Recon 35. This is one of the OTFs that I EDC. This particular one has carbon fiber scales. Definitely fun. We have the much larger Guardian Tactical Recon 40, which is, it's very cool. It's just a huge knife to carry around. It gets pocketed every now and then. It's a fun one though, for sure. We have a really weird one. This is the Chapman Lake Knife CLK. I believe it might be a CLKT because of the Tanto. We actually have a hollow crowned Tanto here. Both the primary and secondary edges are hollow ground. This is a titanium button lock, and they have laser engraved my logo on there. All in-house, and honestly, their prices are really good compared to a lot of the other stuff that you see, right? For example, you'll see some knives that are USA made, and they're nowhere near as expensive as other USA made knives. And a lot of people think, well, why is that? If the materials are the same or similar, it's because it costs a lot more for some companies to, you know, profit and run a company than it does for others. So a lot of times it's volume or, you know, labor intensiveness, right? Precision, stuff like that. But I've got other videos on that. This is the Les George VECP V3. Huge fan of this one. I've been a big fan of this model for such a long time. And this is one of the, actually, I think they still do CTS XHP manual ones. Maybe not so much anymore. I've heard XHP is a little more rare. We have the TRM Shadow. This is definitely on the rarer side, titanium and CPM 20CV. We have the TRM Atom in full diamond textured titanium, another one that I like to EDC periodically. We have the Brown Knives FSD. Whoops, missed that there. This is actually a liner operated button lock. So I'm sorry, a button operated liner lock. It's not actually a plunge lock. It's actually a liner that slips into place there. Really fun one, definitely on the larger side. We have a much more expensive, well, actually the Brown is pretty expensive, but the Serge Panchenko and Hawk Rook, I think that the Hawk is actually the toggle detent that this is utilizing. It does not use a crossbar lock like a Benchmade. We can't see in there because of the tie scales, but it's using the toggle detent and it's very clicky and fun to manipulate. These are not super easy to get a hold of, and they are super expensive. We have a ZT0392, which is the equivalent of the Hinderer clips. Now, this is, of course, an authorized Hinderer design, collaboration with Zero Tolerance. Originally, this was an 0392 BWBRZ that I bought on the secondary market, and that bronze hardware was absolutely faded. So I bought some factory Hinderer hardware and loaded it up, and now this is actually a user. It's been resharpened multiple times. This is in CTS 204P, which is the Carpenter equivalent of CPM 20CV or Bowler M390. So that's a fun one. Moving on to some Spydercos here. This was actually a gift from my wife. It's the Spyderco Para 3 in Maximate, and it has some, I think these are RGT skinny scales. I think these are made in the USA. It also has an MXG deep carry clip. Big fan of this one. Definitely one of the most carried knives ever in my collection. We have the Spyderco PM2, just a basic S30V PM2 that has been outfitted with Flightanium titanium scales. Fun one. We have my first of 4 Spyderco Shamans. This was my original purchased, oh man, 2008, whenever they came out. This was S30V. I bought this back when they were 180 or so bucks. Maybe, no, I'm sorry. I bought it back when it was like 165 bucks, right? They're way more now. Now, this guy doesn't, I have never returned a clip to this guy. This particular version doesn't get carried anymore, and originally it had black scales, but I took the River's Edge Cutlery exclusive green OD scales, or OD green scales, off of this guy and put it on this guy just for fun. So that's the story behind this one. This is one of 3 customized special Spyderco Shamans that I have. So this is a CTS XHP Spyderco Shaman that has, these are Medenboss solid zirconium scales, oil slick. Sorry, there's fingerprints all over it. But solid oil slick zirconium scales, very heavy knife. The scales are also made in the USA. This next one was my first customized Spyderco Shaman. This was the River's Edge Cutlery exclusive FDE PVD CTS 204P Spyderco Shaman. One of the only coated Shamans out there that's a different color. And then I, of course, took the OD green scales off and added Flytanium scales that were actually Cerakoted by River's Edge Cutlery. They offer that service, by the way. They also Cerakoted the back spacer. Then I added a MXG deep carry clip to that guy, so that one's fun. And then far and away the most expensive. This one is just ridiculous. Once again, the Spyderco Shaman in CPM S90V with the Medenboss solid zircotie scales, meaning titanium Damascus infused with zirconium. Now this guy has got fingerprints all over it, so it's really not, the camera's not doing it justice right now, but well, you guys have probably seen that one many, many times. On to my Hinderer knives. I'm a huge Hinderer fan. We have the DLT Trading exclusive non-flipper Fullard spear that has a textured titanium scale that was added to it. That's something that I very much enjoy with my Hinderer knives, is adding the tie scales. And those can be a little bit tricky to get a hold of. I'm trying to create some more room here so that I can progress without bonking some of these into each other. We have the Hinderer Automatic XM18. So this is a full-on switchblade. This one's also in full tie. That's kind of rare. It's rare to see a titanium automatic knife, but very cool. And I love that it's in the style of the non-flipper. That just creates more ergonomic room. CPM 20CV. This one's actually purchased from a buddy on the secondary market. We have, I think this was the E-Knives exclusive non-flipper Eclipse, which I love. And then I also somehow managed to get my hands on a textured titanium Eclipse scale. I think these are maybe a little more common now, but that was not easy to get my hands on initially. And then I have the one that I use the most, and this was an early Gen 6 Harpoon Spanto in S35VN with, of course, a textured titanium scale on the front. I think, yeah, this guy's also, one of these scales is not milled. It's a much older, rarer scale. I think it's actually this guy. Yeah, this is a solid tie scale with no milling on the inside, which you just don't really see anymore. We have the Monkey Edge exclusive it was originally an MEFP or Monkey Edge frag pattern, XM18 3.5 inch in CPM 3V. I switched out the black frag G10 scale for an extremely rare battle black textured titanium scale. I definitely have not seen too many of those, so that was a fun one to do. We have just an overall very rare configuration. This is the Hinderer XM24 Spanto in the elusive Stonewash DLC. Now this is different from Blackwash, and it is also different from DLC. You'll notice that it is reflective like Stonewash. You don't see too many of those. You definitely don't see too many XM24s in this configuration. This one's been customized with black hardware and also a steel flame Crusader nut on the outside. So that's a fun one. And then this one is special because of how long it took me to find a titanium XM24 scale that was actually factory. All of the parts on these Hinderer knives are factory authentic. Getting a factory authentic Hinderer XM24 titanium scale was literally an 8-year journey for me. I was on the lookout for 8 years, and because of a very awesome viewer on my channel, I was notified, hey, they've got these on the website, and I managed to finally snag one. So this is a Knife Center exclusive XM24 Harpoon Spanto. Also a cool one. Haven't seen too many of those. We have my only Strider. We have the Strider SMF Performance Series in titanium. This one developed a little bit of lock stick, which is fine. I'm sure it'll work itself out. But I picked this one up secondary because it was one of the only ones that I'd ever seen that was actually centered. This is my newest acquisition. This is the Skiff-made blades Fugitive, which I am extremely happy with. This is definitely one of the ones on the more expensive side, but man, Skiff does some absolutely beautiful work. This is a hand-rubbed satin finished and partially mirror polished CPM 154 blade. Very, very beautiful. And then the much more exotic Skiff Drifter. This is a special version in Damacore. And then we have a huge Zircotie pivot and backspacer with a purple anodized, Zircotie pocket clip and a purple anodized backspacer. Currently, my only Chris Reeve knife, not my last. I'm sure I'll find more. But this is an Umnumzon. This is my favorite Chris Reeve. And this was actually a gift from a whole bunch of people, including my buddy Scott, for when the channel hit 100,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for that. This is one of those that I very much cherish. But I love the Umnumzon. It's such a great model. I honestly think that's the best Chris Reeve out there. Got a couple of Kershaws, which are definitely going to be some of the least expensive in here. This is probably my favorite Kershaw knife of all time, the Launch 16. This is spectacular. I mean, it's an automatic knife, but man, like it's one of the nicest knives, just one of the most perfect automatic knives. I think these come in at like 150, something like that. CPM M4 and this non-serrated Tanto version is just absolutely wonderful. Huge fan of Kershaw since I started really becoming a knife enthusiast after handling my first Kershaw, which is actually up next. So it's really fun to see them still succeeding in 2023. The Kershaw Blur, now this particular one was not my actual first, but the first pocket knife that had the kind of, or the golden light was like, I like knives. That happened with the Kershaw Blur. And that's what got me started in this 15 years ago. This S30V version technically belongs to my wife. I gave it to her as a gift, but it's been down here with me for a while. So yeah, love that one. Let's move on here to some Protechs. We have the Protech Malibu textured with the black, we're going to call this reverse Tanto CPM 20 CV blade. Very cool. If you guys remember the craze with these knives, these were almost impossible to get at one point. Another gift from my wife. There's actually a bunch in here. This is the Protech TR3, which is probably one of the most flagship Protech models in existence. Very happy with that one. I do carry this one periodically. Got a wild one. I would really like to collect more Sapphire PVD Protechs. This is the Sapphire Godfather. Really, really cool knife. Definitely a crowd favorite whenever I show it. You just don't see too many blue blades unless they are literally from the gas station and it's just paint. This is actually a PVD coating, which means it's not just pretty, it offers additional protection to your blade. We have I think this is the Gathering 12 edition of the Protech, what is this one called? The Protech Invictus. Yeah, the Invictus, right? The Prometheus Design Works Invictus is what it's based off of. This is an authorized collaboration, but the standard Protech Invictus actually has a red firing switch, and this Gathering 12 edition, right there you can see, number 95 of 100, it has a green firing switch, which is the only difference. And I remember seeing that on PVK Vegas and thinking, that's really cool. So this one has a fun, well, not so much a fun story. It's got an interesting story. God, this thing fires so hard, guys. Protech, it's not just the Rockeye model, which is what this is, but this is one of the customs, and oh my goodness, it fires hard. So this is a brass scaled Protech Rockeye with a mirror polished, I believe it's a CPM 154 blade. Now this was something that was sent to me that I was showcasing for my buddy Scott, who has a much larger collection than me. And you should check him out on Instagram, Sierra_bound on Instagram. But he was letting me showcase it. My hands are the type of hands that when I touch things like bronze, it forms a patina. not everybody's hands are the same, but mine do. I should have been wearing gloves. But after this happened, I felt really bad because he likes to keep his knives pristine. I said, Scott, I would be more than happy to pay for this knife. And he said, okay. And so I did. And now it's mine. And I'm actually really happy with it. I have no issue with that. But I still feel really bad about this knife. You can see there underneath what it was originally. And I'm going to leave it like this. I know I can restore it to what it was originally if I want to, but I kind of, honestly, I kind of like it this way. So I really don't have a problem with that one. Moving on to the Microtechs. I own more Microtechs even than Hinderer knives. There's a ton of them here. Of course, the standard MSI, I carry this all the time. People always ask me if I've had any issues with the locks. I have had zero issues with any ram lock. I've even showed on camera doing the spine whack test to all of my ram lock knives. None. I love the MSI. I think it's wonderful. I think Microtech is also just hitting grand slams in 2023. We have an original production ram lock stitch, which this is one of the older ones with the curved non-ambi pocket clips. It also has a larger ram lock switch. You can see here up against the MSI. This was what they used to look like. No difference in reliability. That's just what they looked like. I do carry that one. And we have a newer, my current stitch that I EDC. This is a ram lock stitch in fluted aluminum, which I love. I just recently got this one. Big fan. I'm obviously collecting the stitch, like specifically. I own 5 of them. I will definitely own more. I have a Blackout auto stitch, which unfortunately has the paragraph on the blade. I love everything about this knife except for the paragraph. These are the hardest firing autos, side opening autos in existence. This fires even harder than that Protech custom Rockeye. Then we have the fully blacked out shadow stitch, which looks way better because it doesn't have the paragraph. But you know what? They charge you for it. They're like, oh, you don't want that paragraph? That'll be an extra, what do they charge? 80 bucks? Yeah, they got me. So anyways, another gift from my wife back from 2018, and that is the Microtech Socom Elite. Different from the new production Socom Bravo, which is not made in the USA. This guy is absolutely made in the USA. This was back in June of 2018. We have my EDC Microtech Ultratech, which gets plenty of love. Just a basic drop point Ultratech. Love that knife. We have a bronze Dirac Delta, which as soon as I knew I wanted the Dirac Delta, this is the bigger guy. But I knew, I wanted to get a special one. So first opportunity I got to get one in bronze, I definitely went for that. My newest Microtech OTF, and that is the Glycon. We have 2 standard edges. Beautiful with the tri-switch. Love that. Makes it really easy to retract, given that you can get traction on both sides. Firing power is excellent. The overall look is excellent. Love that you can get titanium on it. Just really cool. We have a Microtech Combat Troodon Signature Series, and this is I think they call this the Hellraiser. It looks like it's broken. A lot of people really hate this blade shape. I just think it's just cool, right? I mean, it's nowhere near as useful as other blade shapes, but I mean, honestly, if you look at my collection, it's pretty clear I'm a collector. It's pretty clear that utility is not the main priority for me. Obviously, some of these knives get used and some don't, but given that I paid for them, I feel like I have the right to decide whether or not that is the case. A lot of what I collect is not very utilitarian. I just like it because it's interesting, right? The idea of collecting is probably not a difficult concept to understand, right? Some people, I think, try and pretend, especially when we're looking at something like pocket knives, that this is like a bizarre concept. It isn't. Don't waste the brain cells on pretending like you don't get it. The Microtech Combat Troodon Hellhound, which was a Christmas gift from my wife and absolutely one of my favorites. This is one of the nastiest OTFs in existence, definitely. So same as the other one, it's just the Hellhound. Then we have also a crowd favorite. This is a Microtech Scarab II Shadow. This is absolutely the hardest firing double action OTF that I have ever handled. Now, I have a lot of double action OTFs, but I can tell you I have handled 3 or 4 times the number shown here. A lot of if you don't know, I have about 4,000 uploads on this channel. I've handled a lot of stuff. I've definitely handled my fair share of double action OTFs. the Scarab II is hands down the hardest firing double action OTF out there. Moving on to, well, we'll start off with this guy. This is the Hawk Shortcut. Definitely the most expensive box cutter I own, for sure. This is a custom titanium utility blade, which is actually really fun. I carry this all the time. It is hilariously expensive. That's not a flex. It's just a fact about this thing. I'm a big fan of Hawk knives, and I when this was offered up, I thought, you know, I gotta have it. I love the spring-loaded pocket clip there. Moving on to absolutely the most expensive USA-made knives in my collection, we have a Hawk Deadlock Model C. Now, if you don't know what this is, if you are a big fan of OTFs, it's pretty common for people to claim that their OTF has no blade play, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's use one of my more expensive OTFs here. How about this guy, Signature Series? People claim that their OTF doesn't have any locked out blade play. They're lying, especially the folks with the Benchmade infidels. The Benchmade infidel is the worst. But that's okay. That's normal for OTFs to have a little bit of blade play, right? I mean, it's the design of the chassis and the mechanism that allows the blade to fire out and eventually lock into place. There's always a little bit of play, even on some of the most expensive stuff. Hawk knives, specifically the Hawk Deadlock models A, B, and C, are factually the only OTFs. Yes, SOG Pentagon fans, also talking to you. The only OTFs in existence that can fire consistently without damaging the blade and locking out completely and totally solid. These are the only ones on Earth that actually lock out completely and totally solid, hence the name Deadlock. These are fantastic and are hands down the most luxurious USA automatic knives or OTF automatic knives that I've ever handled. Huge fan. I think specifically the Model C is the perfect OTF. They are unbelievably smooth, powerful, and they lock out solid, which is great. Definitely the more luxurious of the two, however, is the John Wick 4 edition, which is right there, John Wick 4. This is actually serial number 4. Right, do we actually have... Oh, it's on the certificate of authenticity. You can go back and watch the unboxing of this, but I actually have serial number 4 here. This is a full DLC titanium switchblade with DLC 20CV steel, double edge, and mirror polished. And then we have the DLC titanium firing switch, DLC titanium pocket clip inlay, and then we have marble carbon fiber for the other inlay here. This is definitely one of the most expensive USA-made knives in my collection. Definitely one of the rarest knives in my collection. And definitely my preference when it comes to the two Hawk models. Equally, if not more rare, this was the 5-year anniversary gift from my wife. This is the Sharp by Design Arch Nemesis. Sharp by Design, a lot of their production collaborations with Riat are of course made in China. This is not. The Arch Nemesis has only ever been made in the USA. And I want to say over the years, a long period of time, less than 100 exist. I don't know if he still makes these. My wife had this custom made for me without me knowing. And it is the absolute crown jewel of my collection. It's not the most expensive knife in my collection, but I cherish this knife above all others. It's also unique in a few factors here. Number one, the Sharp by Design frame locks utilize a lipped detent, which is not a detent ball, and it creates for, you can hear it, some of the most satisfying flipping action in the entirety of the knife world. Oh my goodness, it is wonderful. It's also got a beautiful symmetrical aesthetic, about 9¼ inches. This is a true dagger ground, double edge, compound blade. How many of those have you ever seen? Not many, I'm gonna guess. This is a wonderful and just superb knife. I will forever treasure it. And then actually by a landslide, the most expensive USA-made knife in my collection is the Marion and Borca. I call this the Black Star, I call it the Black Diamond, but it's a DLC mirror polished star grind Borca Stitch. I think a lot of knee-jerk cynics will be quick to point out that the blade shape is not very utilitarian. You think? Do you think? Thanks for the professional analysis. No, the blade is not super duper practical, but that's not the reason I picked it up. I just love all the bevels. I mean, it's just, I've never seen a blade shape like that. I knew that I wanted a Borca Stitch from the first moment that I saw it. This is the real deal, but it's just the Borca and Marion collab, right? So we have the black DLC frag titanium frame. This also has blue tritium that is milled into the blade and the backspacer here. There's there's 2 on the spine right there. Then we got 2 pieces here, 1, 2, or I guess 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, and then 3 back here. So it actually glows blue in the dark. But that's probably one of the wildest blades that I own, and super happy with this. I mean, it's just wonderful. Yeah, definitely the craziest in terms of price in my collection. That's it. Now, as this video is being recorded, I have 3 more USA made knives that are on the way that didn't make it into this video. If you guys enjoyed seeing, there's people all the time ask me, how many USA made knives do you own? It seems like you own a ton of stuff that's not USA made. On the contrary, obviously, I own more USA made knives than anything else in my collection. So I thought this would be really fun to showcase this. If you guys enjoyed this, I can make this an annual thing. I always go over my whole collection, but for people who really just want to see the USA stuff, I am more than happy to update you guys on this portion of my collection. I'm from the USA, so I like to buy things that are made in the USA for sure. But that's going to be pretty much it today. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Leave a like if you'd like to check out my other content. I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.